Get on the scales quickly, I ordered my boyfriend. Dan was visibly nervous, but got on them anyway, and they suddenly broke under him. Well, that's it. It can't go on like this any longer. I kicked that fat slob out of my house, and then I threw away all his gifts. The following days, I could see flowers, toys, and cute postcards from my ex-boyfriend near my house. At first, I just threw them away, and then I started disfiguring them and stuffed everything in Dan's locker. Yes, he almost cried when the pile fell on him. Apparently, Dan did not want to let go of such beauty. Therefore, right in the schoolyard, he painted a huge white heart on the asphalt with a declaration of love. Everyone was laughing at us. I was burning with shame, and he was on his knees asking me to return to him. No way. I rejected him right in front of everyone and called him a nasty, fat idiot. It got on someone's camera, and by the evening, a video of Dan's humiliation had been posted on Instagram. By the way, it had thousands of views, and believe me, many people were on my side in this scenario. Dan approached me the next day, pushed me, and told me that I would regret breaking up with him. No way would a beautiful woman like me date an obese slob. In return, I merely spit my juice all over his face and urged him to get away. Who'd have guessed that I'd come to regret my decision? In fact, I myself was on my knees begging Dan to come back, and he just laughed at me and my feelings. My name is Sabrina, and I really want to tell you this story. I could never imagine what would have to happen to me to start dating a nasty fat guy again. Maybe a meteorite hitting the earth, the end of the world, or a tsunami. Dan was too self-assured, and I just chuckled at his confidence. He was so ridiculous when we were running around the school at the PE lesson. He was the first to be out of breath and then would rest for several minutes. And after the exercises, his entire shirt was sweaty and disgusting. The girls felt sorry for me because I once loved this piggy. It was even more fun when Dan got into a fight. Since I was already single, I decided to flirt with the best swimmer in our school and at the same time to invite him on a date. And when Peter kissed me on the cheek, Dan got so angry that he immediately got into a fight. Despite his weight, his size did not help him win the fight. Peter easily dragged him down and then smiled. I couldn't help but laugh as well. Dan was pitiful. He called me names and then stormed off, angry and depressed. You might wonder how I can fall in love with a loser like him. He wasn't always this heavy, and he used to be slender and almost the most attractive person in school, with all the females chasing after him, including myself. Can you imagine how happy I was when he chose me? Girls in my class gasped with envy, and boys hated Dan because he was a real macho compared to them, and I started showing off even more. But then something went wrong. Dan started to eat a lot of fat food, wash it down with soda, and got fat, which really bothered me. He did not even notice how rapidly he was gaining weight. I asked him to stop, sometimes shoving salad instead of a burger for lunch. But Dan refused to eat that and called it food for some goats or sheep. I even began to threaten to break up with him, and then Dan started having second thoughts. He tried to eat healthy, even started going to the gym, but the weight did not go anywhere. But on the contrary, it was increasing. As a result, Dan made a tidy profit of 140 pounds. These stats continue to astound me. So how did you manage to let yourself go like that? As a result, Dan morphed from a dashing young man into a pitiful, overweight slob. Because I was dating him, a lot of people made fun of me. I was appalled by kissing such a balloon, hugging him and having to stop in the middle of a walk so he could just collect his breath. I was also terrified of going shopping with him. When Dan couldn't fit into jeans, he managed to rip them while stubbornly trying them on. And then stores' t-shirts were soaked with terrible stench of sweat after him. I felt extremely embarrassed. He was cute, but he got ugly, and it was just cringe to date a guy like that. I could no longer catch sidelong glances and smirks as well as force myself to kiss him. Dan's beautiful courtship could not outdo his enormous weight. So I'd rather be with Peter. Sometimes we'd run into Dan at the gym. I assumed he'd fall over and wash away his exhaustion with a burger because he was so awkward jumping rope for running. Dan, on the other hand, would get up and exercise. The next day, if he sat down for a rest, he overdid it, and an ambulance was dispatched to take him to the hospital. When Dan returned to school, he was blind to bullying and insults, which was both tragic and hilarious. He had entirely disconnected from the rest of the world and was doing his own thing. He was missing for 6 months shortly after that. I didn't even know what I was feeling at that moment. It must have been pity or contempt. Rumors immediately spread throughout the school that he had simply given up or that he was in the hospital. Peter actually said that Dan was probably in a mental hospital, but when he returned to school, I simply forgot how to breathe, being overwhelmed with emotions. He had gotten even better than before. Athletic, fit with a new hairstyle, and in new clothes. He even got a new car. Dan instantly became the most popular guy in school, and the girls started running after him again. But that was not all. It turned out that he had taken part in one popular project where fat people were losing weight. That's how he made a lot of money. I had never watched the show, but when I found out that Dan had been on it, I immediately downloaded that episode. I had found out a lot. It turned out that he had a hormonal imbalance and psychological problems, which was why he gained weight in this program. Not only trainers were working with him, but also psychologists. And when Dan said that he would take revenge on one stupid chick, I dropped my popcorn in shock. He meant me, of course. I felt offended by these words. So the next day, I yelled at Dan. He just laughed at me and poured his juice all over me. Dan said that I was a loser and left. And I was like a fool standing in the middle of the school corridor and was being laughed at. I no longer wanted to get back with this jerk until he arrived at school in his new Jaguar and dressed in a cool outfit. He called my girlfriends for a ride, but he didn't even look at me. And a few days later, one of them was talking about the pricey earrings he had given her the day before. I had to keep an eye on how he courted my pal. In the schoolyard, he was playing his guitar and sang songs. He painted her portrait because he was a talented artist. Then he sprinkled rose petals throughout the classroom and proposed to her in front of everyone. My friend was beaming with joy, while I was fuming with rage. It was impossible to expect Peter to make such romantic gestures. He was obnoxious and narcissistic in general. His appearance no longer pleased me, since aside from that, there was nothing cool about him. And Dan, in comparison to him, was one in everything. It was at this point that I regretted leaving him, and of course I desired to reclaim him. I tried to flirt with him, give him cute gifts, or just shower him with compliments, but Dan was just laughing at me, and then he said that our relationship could start over if I stood on my knees in front of him and begged him to come back. No way! I thought. I would not humiliate myself in front of him. However, when Dan posted a video on Instagram from the fanciest restaurant, I thought that I could kneel in front of him after all. He's not only handsome now, but he's also rich. And right in front of the whole class, I was begging him to date me and crying from humiliation. But Dan just laughed and told me to get lost after calling me stupid trash. And then he posted a video, which he had edited himself in the first part. He was kneeling in front of me, and in the second, I was kneeling in front of him. And then I saw all my actions from the outside. I had been nasty to Dan, even without realizing why he had gained weight. I just thought he was eating too much, and I felt horribly embarrassed and offended. We humiliated one another and inflicted a great deal of stress on each other. I started eating a lot and didn't even realize how much weight I was gaining. I was able to divert my attention away from the negative aspects of my life by eating fatty foods. So in 1 month, I gained so many pounds that I couldn't fit into any of my jeans. And a month later, I couldn't even recognize myself in the mirror. I'd grown big, and people began ridiculing me in the same way they mocked Dan. And I finally realized how difficult it had been for him due to stress. Due to his poor self-esteem, he had been eating more and more. He had given up and simply did not see any point in losing weight. Due to obesity, I started having problems with my breathing, heart, and even joints. My body was not ready for such a rapid weight gain. I could hardly move around, often stopping to catch my breath. Physical education had become the least favorite subject because I could no longer do the exercises properly, and now I had to run behind everyone, stop often, and also reek of sweat. The guys were avoiding me, and my friends suddenly turned their backs on me because it was embarrassing for them to mix with a fatso. Never in my life had I felt so lonely and lame. But then something unexpected happened. Dan sat down at my desk one day and offered to help. He noticed how the guys mocked me and refused to leave me alone, and his patience finally ran out when they threw moist and filthy rags at me. He stated that he comprehended my situation well. I couldn't believe how happy I was. I even burst into tears. Not from joy, but from embarrassment. I couldn't do anything to help Dan while he was overweight, and I was only hurting him, yet he didn't desert me. We began hanging out in the evenings again, and I began to go to the stadium, where he assisted me in performing various physical exercises. Then he advised me to make an appointment with a psychologist as well as a nutritionist so they could make a personal menu for me. I followed his advice, and over some time, I started to recover, the weight gradually decreasing, and I started feeling much more confident. But this was not only thanks to proper nutrition and a psychologist, but also thanks to the support of Dan, who had never laughed at my appearance. And when I was able to lose a lot of weight, he was happier than me. After this story, we have forgiven each other for all the insults and remain good friends. And I have realized that you should not humiliate a person for their drawbacks. Appearance can be deceiving, as terrible demons might be hiding underneath a beautiful cover. I used to be like that, but thanks to Dan, I've changed. Would you dump your boyfriend or girlfriend if they gained a lot of weight? Post your responses in the comments. I would be interested to read them. Click the like button and share this video with your friends.